Okay, so joining us on the Live on Form podcast today is Richard Callender. Richard, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm very good, very good. So I actually took this from your website, and your kind of bio is, and because I thought it was a real nice overview of who you are, what you do, what you represent. I've been aware of you for as long as my career has been. We've been around a long time in the world of fitness and health. And you use the term mixed discipline fitness professional. And I like that. Yeah. I like the way, it's all encompassing. And there's also a quote on there which says that you've successfully and consistently blurred the lines between personal trainer, fitness presenter, media consultant, and educator. And I think there's an evolution there as well. I think there's a lot of stuff that evolves in there. Fitness presenters was a thing of, probably a decade ago. That was a massive thing, being a fitness presenter, which was basically, you were able to motivate huge amounts of people. You're able to direct lots and lots of people, which I think is a skill in itself. And obviously, as it states, you blurred the lines. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your background, your history, what you're about. And obviously we're going to talk about performance, because I know that's a huge narrative that sits over your entire life, everything you do. And we'll see how that's developed with you.
Hey, let's do it. Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me. And secondly, thanks for almost putting an age on us both. As long as you've been in the industry, I've been around, and vice versa. I remember like 24, 25 years ago, hearing your name and seeing things you were doing. So it's about time you sat down and did this. Let's be honest. It will be late.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I wrote the bio for my website, you know what it's like when you read people's bios, it sounds so cheesy or kind of like beauty pageant-esque. Like, I want to change the world, or I'm someone who's got... I was like, no. My background was from a sports science point of view, so I studied at South Bank University. But then I went into group fitness management, and then I went into regional management and general management, so managing health clubs. I had a passion for movement and an ability to hear a beat and move to it. So that was also part of my arsenal. So I did group fitness alongside that. Doors opened. I was still doing my personal training as well. And so what's happened over the past 24, 25 years is I've been allowed to, and I do mean I've been allowed to, almost dip my feet in lots of different ponds, wear lots of different hats, and keep blurring the lines. So one day I'm a personal trainer, the other day I'm just dad, another day I'm a coach, another day I'm a group fitness person running events, or I'm a consulting. So who am I? I guess I'm almost one of those old school flashbacks, which I'm almost like a bit like a Swiss Army knife of fitness, where I'd like to think I can tick a few boxes that can help a few people. And that's pretty much it, I guess.
An old school flashback. I like that term. I mean, there is that natural evolution of the industry. I think that you can see in your makeup, and certainly mine. There's elements of mine where, unfortunately, I couldn't hear a beat. And like on a bike, I wasn't too bad, but that was a world that I was actually part of, for quite a bit, and it was something where I wasn't really a presenter. I was more to do with the background stuff. I was involved with some of the programming elements of, things that were done to music, which was huge, right? I remember, the was it Fit Pro at Blackpool?
And, International Fitness Showcase.
Yeah. And it was mad. You'd walk in and there'd be, I mean, I'm speculating on numbers here, but there'd be halls full of 400 or 500 people, all in sync with each other, doing crazy step classes, aerobics classes. I mean, this was a different part of and a different time in the industry, and obviously with COVID and the lockdown and group fitness isn't quite the thing it used to be. But obviously, you said about sort of wearing many hats, and you actually alluded there as to you didn't just talk about business and work oriented hats. You actually said, look, there's days where you're just a dad. So you're a family man. I know that. I know that's an important part of what you do. And obviously, what we talk about is performance in this kind of wider sense. As to, we're not just talking about fitness. And obviously, we have that background in the fitness industry, so hence we do talk about it. But there's a wider aspect of performance. And that's, it's looking after your general well-being, is, your cognitive, your mental health, your physical health, obviously, overall. which kind of by default gets ticked because of what we do. And then you've got your relationships and all the things that pan around that. So, where in that has there been, again, I've used the word evolution several times, but where has that evolution occurred in your life that has taken the things maybe that you learned from fitness and the things that you learned from your upbringing and from your childhood and things like this, and how have they followed suit and continued in your life to create, the man you are today as such?
If I'm going to go all the way back, I think it's going to go all the way back to the fact that I'm the youngest, which means I have to all kind of stand out to be seen, really, if that makes sense. But with that, my siblings, and especially my older brother Robert, who was like a sporting superstar. I mean, most of our family, we competed in athletics, football, you name it. But we were all essentially cut from the same cloth. We were all like sprinters, as in we were like power athletes. And so you have to understand, there's a lot of competition in the house.
Yeah.
Which was health competition. I think that's what forced me to grow up quite quickly. And also being the youngest, it wasn't all eyes on me. So to stand out, I had to excel a little bit more or do things a bit better, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
not just for my peers, my friends, but also within my family. So I've got friends and my parents. My dad has 2 degrees. Do you know what I mean? So he used to recite Latin all the time, and he used to go, and you go, okay, I get it. Education was massive for my family and my parents. They were like, if we do sports, which you're passionate about, you get your homework done. And that kind of set the stall. So I was like, okay, to do that, I have to do this. And so I think from an early age, and Esme, my daughter's getting the same thing now. Before she wants to go and play, we're getting our homework done straight away. She understands that from the word go at 4, 5, 6. But I think that set the framework to say, before you can do the things you want to do the things you have to do. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And my upbringing was great in that my family was a loving, warm, cool family, but there's a lot of function in it as well. And there's also, if you're not going to pull the race thing now, why not? They were going through a time where it was very transitional when my parents came to the country. So they made sure that they worked so hard that they grew up in a slightly different era to some of my friends, my peers. My parents worked shift, but they busted their butts for us kids to give us a good life, or at least a good start.
Yeah.
And that's seen now with what us kids are doing. We got like my sister is the head teacher. My other brothers work for like defense systems. We're all in positions where we almost kind of lead, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because we're almost taught to do well, you have to put your best foot forward. That's what my dad used to say to me all the time, put your best foot forward. And so that kind of mentality is sort of drilled into us. And my parents had no tolerance for the things that would make us deviate off that course, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, but it's done the right way. It's done with humor all the time. It's done with warmth. And I think that led me through into college, competing, getting a taste of winning, getting a taste of succeeding. You know what it's like when you're good at something, it feeds that confidence. It gives that fire, and you like that fire. I think is carried on all the way through my career, where I haven't wanted to be the best, but I've always wanted to be able to compete. Does that make sense? And
totally.
whereas I think too many people nowadays in the industry, and that's what the industry, feel that if they can't win, what's the point in competing? And I think that's where we're having a problem now. When people see all these memes and entrepreneurial posts that say, yes, if you're not up at 4 a.m. in the morning, you're already two hours behind the other person who's winning. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be that. It's relative. So I think my journey is underpinned by the fact that I had a good upbringing, a good support system of friends, and at each stage that I've gone in my career, where doors opened, I've been flexible enough to go through it and bend with what's needed.
Yeah. So, brothers and sisters, how many have you got? I was trying to tally them up there as we were going.
There's officially 7 of us.
There's 7 of you. Wow. So hell, yeah. I mean, as a dad, right? Is that the financial burden alone of kids is, it's significant, right? So 7 kids, working hard, full-time jobs, blah blah blah. That's a mean feat, whatever way you cut it up, right? So to have that, and then obviously you were saying about everybody's sporty, then all of a sudden that becomes a challenge, and I think that's a modern day challenge for parents as well, isn't it? Is that if all of your kids, if you've got 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever, if each one of them is doing a sport, you've got to have multiple journeys in different directions to take them to clubs and things like this. So it's a massive management thing, right? And then
hence why I can't ever go to my mum now and say I'm struggling.
Yeah, yeah.
Because she
can you help out?
Yeah, she comes, raises her eyebrow, kisses her teeth. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll get back in my box again. But it's the logistics, isn't it? And it's also, as my mum would always say, she would say, you're only given you're only given what you can handle, and so you have to find a way.
Yeah, you adapt, don't you? I think that's the thing, isn't it? You adapt to, it's like, and again, let's analogize the fitness industry. We know that you adapt to load, right? We adapt to load. Weight training and strength training is all about adapting to load. So you adapt to load, whether it's financial, whether it's spiritual, whether it's it's just the demand of other people or your, not necessarily siblings, but your people that you're accountable for, right? And you tolerate that load. You learn to adapt. You learn to manage it. You learn to get around it somehow, or figure out how to carry it as such. So
there's always a way. I mean, there's so many different ways to skin a cat. We all know that. Yeah. But there's also so many different ways to handle the pressures. And sometimes people handle it the wrong way. Sometimes people can handle it the right way. But pressure always results in something. Something cracks eventually. So it's learning to step back or handle that pressure or share that pressure. So if you've got a partner who's supportive or a group of friends or circle that's supportive, it means you can obviously unload some of that pressure sometimes. Because again, and as you're lifting weights, sometimes you need someone to spot you. If you've got no one there to spot you, you're struggling.
Yeah. Somebody to support and just be there just in case it all goes a bit wrong, right?
Totally.
And I hate to say it, but it is this analogy of life. I always say weight training and resistance training and things like this is very much an analogy of life. You can relate something back to it all. So during that time, so you're growing up, you've got brothers, sisters, you've got this almost competitive streak to some degree, but had you figured out this whole, almost it's not a taking part. Now, this is where there's a grey area there, right? And you said it's all about, being involved, doing it, and doing it to the best of your ability. Now, there's a difference between that and this whole sort of chat that's around now about, it's important to encourage kids just to take part. Nothing else matters. Just take part. But then people kind of miss out in the context of effort as to, should you try harder? Well, no, because I just took part. I don't need to try any harder. And people have said winning isn't important, but bettering yourself is, right? So unfortunately, I see that your medals or whatever it might be as a kid were always important because it was the mantle you were kind of trying to chase, right? So where do you sit with that? So with with your little one, is how do you define that now? I mean, we're in a different era with people who are everybody's on the fence and discussing this whole thing about taking part versus should you be telling your kids to go out and win? Where do you sit with that?
I mean, hey, I'm not going to lie. Because I'm not going to say naturally fast. I mean, my brother and sister has laid a legacy, so our name in the school was there. So by the time I got there, my teachers were literally looking for me, going, "You're a Callender. How fast can you run?" And I told the story many times with one other things, but yeah, I was literally cherry picked by the headmaster or the head of sports, and he was like, "Your older brother is Robert. Your older sister is Andrea. Yeah. How fast can you run?" And that's where it started my career. So my biography one day will be, "Can you run?" Because that's what he said to me. And that started me on the whole path of athletics. And it came to me very easy because I was just running. And there was no start at that stage. I was like 11, 12 years old. And I was winning constantly. And it's the first time. I was a little geek. You have to understand, I was a little geek, collecting comics, just want to be left alone, playing little computer games, role-play games, being warriors and casting spells. I want to be left alone. Suddenly people were like, "Hold on, he's fast." And I got a taste of winning for many, many years, all the way up to university. Then it got to the point where I had a back injury and I had to step back. When I kept trying to come back, I wasn't winning anymore. And I was only just competing. So my mindset had to go from, I want to win and I am winning, to I've just got to enjoy this and at least try and compete. And I think as doors opened, I was able to sit with me better because I was able to start being successful at other things. That made sense.
Yeah, totally.
So the sprinting door shut, couldn't win there. but I liked competing. I went into playing more football. I wasn't going to be a professional footballer, but I enjoyed competing. And then it moved into like obviously dancing, and then into group fitness, and then everything else. So each time I walked through a new door, I was able to win again and get that sense of winning. Yeah. And if I wasn't winning, I was still competing. When Esme competes now, she's fast. She doesn't know she's fast yet, but when I see her run across the playground, I'm like,
"Yep, she's got my genes.
She's got the genes." And I'm like, "Wow, she's got a little baby, little wicked little calf." I mean, she's mixed race. I'm like, she's got the best of both worlds, and she's fast. I'm like, my brother sees it, my mum sees it, and my mum's been there before many times before. And she's like, and I'm like, I know, but she loves swimming. We swim all the time. She's gymnastics, so I'm not trying to steer her down the path that I follow. If she gravitates that way, great. If she wants to compete, then I want her to win. If she doesn't win, I want her to be magnanimous. I want her to be kind in losing. I want her to be able to know that if she can't win, there's no stops. Already at the stage now where if she doesn't get her own way sometimes, she's exerting her force. I'm happy to let her exert herself, because I understand she's doing that. I'm also fine to push back to say no. There's still a boundary. I want her to understand as she gets older. There's some things you can fight and scream about. There's some things you just have to go take it on the head or take it on the chin and move on. And that's what I want to do. I want her to try and win. I would love to be that proud father that steps there going, "That's our girl." But if she doesn't, and she's happy competing, I'll be just as happy saying, "That's our girl. She's doing good," and move on.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the I mean, there's loads of avenues there we could go down with sort of nature versus nurture, and genetic ability, talent, skills, things like this, and I think there's that aspect there where running is a skill. Whatever you cut it up, it's a skill, but it's a skill most of us pick up fairly well and fairly easily. I mean, some of the fastest kids at my school, when I look back at their running technique, their career would last about a year. I mean, technique-wise, horrendous, but so fast, so quick, and they bound and, legs all over the place, arms all over the place, but incredibly, genetically talented. And obviously, without going into sprinting and what defines sprinting, you mentioned calves there, about high calf insertions and fiber types, and there's a whole myriad of things that make you quick, which I'm none of, by the way. I'm middle ground. I like to think I'm middle ground.
But you're not middle ground. You're good.
Middle ground.
You're built for power, dude. I tell you that much.
Yeah, no. I can always make that argument. Yeah, but there's all those aspects that are involved with something like that. So when you're naturally talented at something, and then that starts to come undone in whatever way, shape, or form, you got someone with bad technique, they're going to get injured, right? And you had an injury, right? So you've got to accept at that point that, do I sit back and just relinquish my throne as such and just go, oh, well, I'm no good at this? Or do you take that same work ethic, which, again, I've talked about this an awful lot, certainly with professional athletes and with people who have talent, right? And you see this a lot now in professional sport, where you've got somebody who is naturally talented. And when we say natural talent, there's a whole myriad of factors behind natural talent.
Absolutely, yeah.
And people only ever talk about natural talent when kids are, 14. So nobody talks about what they were, their parents were playing catch with them when they were 2 years old. They forget about all of that, right?
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, they're naturally talented. Yeah, but there's other aspects there.
There's reasons for it, yeah.
But then, unfortunately, when you're naturally talented, there's also that tendency to be a little bit lazy, right? There's that tendency, look, I'm quick. I don't need strain. I'm winning all the time, and there's this new mentality now where you get people who win, who what they then do is they celebrate for a moment, they go away, find all the things they can work on, and they go and work on them. And was this a large part of where you were, from what you learned from your parents and what you learned from your mum, your dad, your siblings, and blah, blah, blah? Because that's a hard thing to accept. Losing is a hard thing to accept. I don't care what anybody says. I'm quite happy losing. Yeah. Nobody's happy losing, I don't think, deep down. But then it's, what do you do with that feedback? I've lost. So what are my choices here? Do I just give up and never do that again? Or do I keep working until I get better? Or I've just won. Do I continue to work at my talent and the thing I'm naturally skilled at, or whatever it might be? So do you think there was that element of what your parents had taught you that caused you to go, right, I've got injured, whatever circumstance, it happens. I'm no longer be able to pursue this talent I have and use that in that particular skill set, which is fundamental. I'm assuming 100, 200 meter sprints, right?
100 meter, yeah.
Yeah, so running in a straight line, right? Running in a straight line. So I could adapt that. Maybe I could run in a circle, and maybe 400 I could go to without putting too much stress on my back or whatever, which a lot of athletes do, right? But then you've gone, I've got this skill. I've obviously got a bit of, you said about dance, right? You can put two beats together, or, which again is a talent, is a skill. Was that something you think you learned when you were growing up?
There was always music in the house. I mean, when I started dancing, like most of my friends, even my family were like, where'd you learn that? And I was like, pretty much in between reading comics in my bedroom, I was watching MTV. And so it came from just watching TV. So then suddenly all my friends were like, you can dance. And I was like, I can dance. and so it became the new big thing. So I ended up dancing, doing backing dancing places and this is all, again, as my athletic career almost closed, that door to be able to move. And obviously, and what I've learned from the athletics is I'd 16, 17, 18, 19, I'd filled up into myself.
Yeah.
And so suddenly I'm walking around going, I've got like little biceps, and so people look at me like I was physically strong. So you walk around strutting, going, yeah. The byproduct of all that training I think was as physique. And so what I did was then, I guess, was I translated that into fitness because I ended up starting to go to gyms with my cousin and my friends, obviously low level, but watching some of the big guys there and thinking, I could do this. And I had the old Flex magazines back in the day thinking, I want to be like that. But at the same time, I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to be huge. I remember looking at like Dolph Lundgren thinking too big, looking at Jean-Claude Van Damme thinking just about right. And then and almost program myself to train in my bedroom, my brother's old dumbbells, his York or his Argos or Littlewood.
Yeah.
Right. You know the one.
Yep.
And so my brother
go with sand.
That's exactly. So I'd be working out and suddenly I had that kind of kick, that kind of feedback, positive feedback from the opposite sex, from women, and respect from guys going, yeah, you're in shape. And so that fed into that. So I was like, actually, if I train a bit better, so I started doing my research. And so again, it led into when fitness became the option, and obviously studying at university, coming out of that, I wasn't in the worst shape, wasn't in the kind of shape that I look back now and go, that wasn't bad. I did okay. That was with ignorance. But I'd learned, and this is, again, one of those environmental things, I'd also worked part-time at Woolworths. Okay? Now, you might think, what relevance is that? That is hands down one of the best jobs I've ever had. So I had to learn to be front-facing to people all the time. I worked in the entertainment department, so I'm there listening to music all day, putting music on, updating the charts.
I'm getting flashbacks here, by the way, of Woolworths in my town and the entertainment department. I'm getting flashbacks. I can remember the counter. I can remember hey, honestly.
Hey, I want everyone who remembers that to go back there in their mind because we were there. I was there on a Sunday evening changing the chart.
Did you have the posters? Were the posters in the entertainment department? The movie posters? Were they all there? Oh, I know it.
Dude, honestly, we'd get the sheet through. I'm like, okay, putting the new posters up.
Yeah.
So I learned to multitask. And every now and then they were like, okay, we need someone to help on the suite department. Or we'll do that. So I learned to have to multitask and do different things, think on my feet, deal with long queues at Christmas, keep people smiling, laughing. And I fine-tuned my front-facing customer service face. And that carried me forward.
Yeah. And what a massive skill set that is, though, right?
Massive.
Huge, especially in the fitness industry.
Totally. Now, there's an analogy that I was told years ago by one of my best friends, Terry Hannon, who obviously looked after like IFS. He's the international presenter. He's always used to be my boss at Fitness First. He's the national fitness manager. And on the training courses we used to run, one of the analogies he said was, Mickey Mouse doesn't have a bad day. Now, what he meant by that is a kid might go to Disney World or Disneyland. They can't have Mickey Mouse walking around kicking them like they had a fight with their partner that morning, or their period's a bit worse today, or they haven't eaten well, or they're tired. No, on that day, they have to perform. Mickey Mouse has to bring it. Do you understand what I mean? So Mickey Mouse doesn't have a bad day is the analogy that I'm not saying fake it, but I'm saying there's a certain level of which you still need to perform. Not everyone needs to know all your business. Now, I think nowadays, everyone's so up on you have to almost project everything that's going on inside your head. Up to a point, I agree. But sometimes, just sometimes, you have to think about the bigger picture and the impact it will have on others. So that kid, that family who saved up for months, maybe years to get to Disney World. Do you know what I mean? They've got there. That kid walks up to Mickey Mouse and is like, oh my goodness, he's so excited. Mickey Mouse is like, not today, kid. Get lost. That wrecks that kid's dream of Disney World. That wrecks that family's holiday. The impact on that is exponential. So when I say Mickey Mouse doesn't have a bad day, I'm not saying that you people have to fake it. What I'm saying is sometimes you have to perform. And that's what it taught me at Woolworths. Face. That's about how late I got in from the nightclub the night before. If someone came and said, I want to return the CD, and I'm thinking, you bought it last week, you've obviously taken it home, copied it, and you bring it back, I've got to smile and go, okay, sir or madam.
While pausing the top 40.
There you go. Well, pausing the top 40, waiting for the right gap. Yeah, the good times. Yeah. What it did teach me, and this is why I think people don't appreciate their journey enough, because in almost every job you've had in your life, up to this point, you should have taken elements that you've learned from that job and add it to your toolbox so that you bring it forward. Does that make sense? Because if you're 30 years old, you should have had a few jobs by then, or a few experiences where you should have gone, okay, my toolbox is getting quite full. There's some skill sets in here that I can adapt to make this job easier or be more efficient. If you're not, then you're missing massive trick.
Hey, you're preaching the converted. I talk back and I refer back to my upbringing. I grew up in a pub, which meant I watched my dad talk to total strangers for a living, essentially. Right. A little village pub, so you'd get a random one person would come in. My dad can't say, I don't really like that person. His conversation's a bit crap. My dad would have to stand and talk to him about something, yes. So he'd find a topic, whatever it might be, and he'd end up, otherwise you've got one person sat at the bar, the barman stood behind the bar, and it's just an awkward, horrendous situation. Yeah. So he'd fix that. So I watched that, and then I started working well below the legal age, but I got a paper round, and I worked at paper round, which is a solitary thing, so lots of thinking time, and then I got a job in a shop, much like you. I worked in a sports shop from the age of 13, I think I was when I started, and I had that as a part-time job all summer, every summer, for right up to, I think, probably whilst I was still at university. I think I used to do summers back there, and it was and customer facing, right? Is that you learn to talk to complete strangers about things, and I think that's a massive skill set. And there was a recent conference for strength and conditioning coaches, the big American conference, which was all high school collegiate coaches, like high end strength and conditioning guys, and they surveyed them and they said, what's the skill that you would think would, you want to learn more about or know more about, and blah, blah, blah. And obviously they had sports science, they had biomechanics, they had all these things. And the top one by a country mile was communication skills. By a country mile. And you're talking elite level coaches, right? And it's mad. It's mad. And you're talking Woolworths, I'm talking Sportscraft of Penrith, where, and it's mad. And the fact that you refer back to it, that you've got the hindsight to go, that was a big stage of my learning and my development. And that's such an important thing that I think, certainly with kids, I mean, we're pushing one of our kids now to get a job. Yeah. And it's slightly different now. You can't sneak a job when you're 13 years old, and you can't, it's not quite the same. But it's, he can get a job. And they don't see the value, because I don't think there's enough people really talk about it. And they don't talk about these almost crappy jobs that people would refer to them as now, and go, I actually learned a lot there. And that's right. It's amazing that you refer back to it, because it is.
Honestly, one of my colleagues who I bumped into, and she and I got talking about, she used to work with me at Woolworths on a different department, and we bumped into each other a few years ago, and we stay in contact now. And she is, I think she changed her job now, but she was like the head European buyer for a clothing company. And I was like, damn, girl. And she was like, yeah, who'd have thought? And bear in mind, she'd only come to the UK a couple of years before work at Woolworths when we were like 17, 18 from Romania. Yeah, so we're talking way before everything that's happening right now. She was here at like age 13, 14. She's got into that position. And again, we were laughing about the Woolworths days. And she even herself credits the fact that her confidence and her ability to speak English so well, and everything she came from that period where there's almost like a purple patch with a group of us who worked together for about 4 or 5 years, and it was like a family. And we all learned new skill sets, but we carry them forward. And I'm looking at it going, there's quite a few of us in that group who are doing pretty well. I look on Facebook, find someone, I'm like, actually, we've done okay. And again, there's seeds planted then. And I think, like you said, people aren't adding enough credit to the fact that they should be getting their kids to get out, learn, do petty jobs, to do chores, to develop that level of self-worth, and also just learn about having to work, get some value to it, develop some skills.
And so let's patch some timelines together here, because you've talked about several stages of your career there fairly seamlessly, but I'm guessing they weren't completely seamless. There was a transition from each one. So you've gone university, you've injured your back, you've kind of opted out of the I'm not going to be a world class sprinter, I'm not going to be there because of this injury. And then tell me about the dance. So because that and again, I won't allude to our ages again, but at the time, dance for a man, firstly, was a kind of it was an obscure sort of direction to go, because again, it wasn't, you typically learned to dance because, it was something you enjoyed doing, or it was something that was fun. It was never really seen as a job, but that would have been the era when, Top of the Pops was kicking around and, all those things. Then all of a sudden, backing dancers became a thing. So what got you into the dance thing? Clearly that you've got a bit of rhythm, you love music, you've got all those things. So what made you choose that path?
I didn't. Again, the door just opened. I was out in the club, just like turtleneck, bright blue blazer. Imagine Colour Me Back. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's gone full circle. I think we're back on trend there, aren't we? Turtleneck, bright blue blazer. Was it a velvet number?
Damn it. I'll be back.
It can't be far off. Turtlenecks are back in, aren't they? I don't know. I'm horrendous with fashion.
Oh man, I don't even want to talk about it.
Right. So you're in the club.
Honestly, I was out one night in the club, dancing with my friends. There was a group of us, and we were just messing around. And the bouncer said to me, "The DJ wants to talk to you." So I'm like, "What?" I went to the DJ. He's like, "Come in. We've got auditions next week for dancers, like podium dancers. Why don't you come along?"
Okay.
So I went to my friends. They're like, "You're kidding." I'm like, "No." And all they're thinking is, we get to get a VIP bit or get free drink.
we get free entry. Get the job. Get the job.
Get the job, Rich. Come on, try harder. So I remember going to Wembley Market that following weekend, buying like army style vest tops up, cutting them up. And I went there. I have no idea. And bear in mind, it's not like I'm a contemporary dancer. I'm there locking and popping, break dancing, doing things. Next thing I got the job. Next time I was a podium dancer, so like every Friday.
Can I ask what club?
It was up in Watford, so it was a club called Kudos back then, and Paradise Lost. And then I ended up going to places like in Enfield called Zeros. Lots of different clubs to start on like Friday, Saturday nights. But this was at university, so I always had money in my pocket. I'm driving around in my car.
Yep.
I didn't drink or smoke, still haven't. So my friends are like living the good life. We go to VIPs, there's people screaming, and there's like, you can imagine, there's a lot of attention. So I'm like, this is all right, actually. But it wasn't real. But it was fun. And so for a couple of years, we were doing that, dancing at clubs, going to the events, doing back, and it was great. But again, because that door opened, but I think that almost firmed my musicality. Because then when I stopped doing all that and started working for Fitness First, which was my first main job, they were like, "Can you teach group fitness?" Obviously, I've done my ETM and PR.
Yeah.
They were like, "Can you teach group fitness?" So then I took that energy into the studio, because I knew I wasn't going to be a dancer, because I didn't want to go on tour or anything. So I, again, took that and put it in my classes. So suddenly I was teaching like my aerobics classes to old school garage or lots of hip hop and stuff. And people were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it made it stand, it made my classes stand out. And so then I got a name for myself by doing that. Again, I took that from that, put into that, closed that door of the dancing and podium and everything else. And I moved forward into fitness. And that's where the studio became my dance floor, essentially, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, I said it wasn't seamless, but I guess that is fairly seamless. You've learned a skill, you've taken the Woolworths, the personable, I can talk to people, which obviously you can't just roll into a studio and start doing fitness classes without having the ability to talk, probably whilst actually moving pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
and that again is another skill in itself, right? It's, you hear about these, maybe not so much now, but it was quite a thing for a singer who's very active to lip sync. They all used to lip sync. Then all of a sudden they're like, I remember there was a big thing about Pink doing it. She does these incredible performances, gymnastics based performances, but continues to sing and sings live. And I mean, to talk and to communicate and to be exchanging that dialogue and ultimately teaching a group of people who I would imagine a lot of them, 2 left feet, lack of rhythm, all those things, and be able to coordinate and get those people all doing what they're doing is, and those people who've been a part of that world will get the intricacies and the difficulty in doing that. But obviously you've moved into that, and that seems pretty seamless. So at this point, you've done your fitness qualifications. Are you coaching at this point?
No, I'm just doing personal training of clients here and there, nothing major, just mostly gym based. Obviously, at the time, I was studio manager and then became fitness manager. I still kept teaching, but by that time, people started asking me to teach classes for other clubs, and so I guess it's an old school masterclass. I was like, okay, no, we'll pay you like £50 to come to our class, this club here, and do a 1 hour class. I'm like, £50 for 1 hour? Just do what I do anyway. And so I was like, before you know it, I got a reputation around North London for going to do master classes, and my rate was going up. And so I was able to work my full-time job and do classes in other places. And again, it felt like, as you said, it felt seamless. At the time, I didn't question it because I had no reference point. I just thought the door's opened, let's go with it. But then what was happening is more and more people asking, then Fitness First, it was at that early stage where I think we were club number 23. Sorry, club number 20. Yes, club number 23, which is Kingsbury. Obviously, Fitness First eventually had hundreds of clubs. So I was in at the right time, which is a fluke. But as Fitness First grew, I went from being a studio coordinator to fitness manager to general manager in the space of just over a year. So then I'm 24 and a half, almost 25. I'm a general manager, running my own health club. And I was still teaching 2 classes a week in the studio because I felt it was a good way for members to know that my background is fitness, and it's something I still had busy classes. So imagine that. I'm a 25-year-old general manager of a health club, which is worth millions. I'm doing fit outs, I'm training staff. The staff, I had this kind of faith at 25. So they all thought I was older. So no one knew my age. So I'm there calling the shots. I've got people who, my assistant manager's older than me. A lot of the receptionists were older than me. But no, they just took my lead. So age wasn't an issue. I just called the shots and we did well. And so that's where I moved into that realm because it transitioned from group fitness into management. And then from managing my club, I ended up going to a couple of other clubs to troubleshoot and look after. And then I got the nice kind request to apply for a regional job, which I then got. So that's the next phase.
Amazing. So I guess we can fast forward. Well, no, let's not fast forward. Let's backtrack a little bit. So along that time, I mean, you are a super positive man. You are, you've always got a smile on your face. You're always hugely, interactive with people. I mean, the way you converse with people. I've seen you present before, and I know what you like on your social channels and things like this. So I want to talk about struggles because right now this all seems very, even the back injury. You were kind of like, and I got this back injury, and then I moved into this, did this, and did this, and so. What about struggles? So where along this whole path were the barriers, were the things that you struggled with, were the things that mentally you couldn't get your head around, were the things that, the things that you really had to strive through, and how did you get through those, if there were any?
Yeah, there's tons. But the thing is, though, it's, again, and I think this comes from I think if I could have picked 2 better parents, it would struggle to, for me, because my dad is very logical, but a warm, kind person that everyone loved. I mean, when he passed away, unfortunately, 2 years ago, but the church was barely standing room only. I remember standing there looking around and going, we can't put any more people in here. And he's out on the street. And my dad was such a popular person, such a kind person, and he would help everyone. So he taught me I think, just being kind to people. Okay. My mum was the same. She was a dreamer, though. So she wasn't all about logical thing. She was about, do you know what? Follow your passion. Just do your thing. Do you know what I mean? And so between the two of them. So I think I don't think I had my first major struggles till I was in my 30s, because I've got this really nice ability to just switch off. So before things get really, really stressful for me, I'm happy to walk away from anything. And because of that, it's almost like my own self-injection thing. If things are getting too much, I'm happy to go and say, actually, I'm taking the weekend off and I can switch off. I've got my own hobbies. I don't have to be around people. I'm actually naturally quite introverted. And people are like, what? The things I do is learned behavior. I'm much the same as you in that I'm quite happy to sit in my sit and draw or write or get on to like my websites. What I build them myself, doing graphic design. I do it myself. I love that stuff. I can disappear into a computer and have no one around for hours. I love being freelance because I can be on my own. But when I need to put the other hat on, I can do that. And so it's learned behavior. So when I've had struggles, like the back injury, I was gutted at the time because I thought I could have a shot of going professional as a sprinter. That got taken away from me. But as it got taken away from me, my parents essentially collectively said, don't whine about it. You've had a good run. What's next? It's almost like saying, don't dwell on that. What's next? And literally, my dad, I think, pretty much said that. So I think my rationale is when something happens, I'm always like, okay, what's next? And I'm looking around. So as soon as something happens, I'm like, what's around? When the dancing ended, what's around? The fitness. When the fitness wasn't going the way I wanted to with Fitness First, and I moved somewhere else, another company, it's because I was going, what's next? I didn't dwell on it. But I've always been really cool, and I've always been very genuine in the fact that I feel lucky. I feel genuinely lucky. I feel really appreciative that I've managed to do some of the things. Some of the people I've met in my life, same as yourself. There's some people that people know I've trained, and there's some people that people will never know I've trained. Some very top level people. And it's like my little secret. I go, actually, even if it all ended now, I've had an amazing run. So because I appreciate that, I can take the hit. Now, I haven't had certain jobs. I've probably been given jobs that I shouldn't have had. But by virtue of being the way I am, people gave me a shot. And I try not to let people down. But I've also very, very strong the fact that if I'm stressed or I'm tired, I can identify it. And I'm telling those close to me so that they understand my behavior. So if I'm like, I'm knackered right now, I don't want to be around anyone at the moment. That's not a mental illness score. That's not an anxiety. It's not depression. That's just me going, hey, I just want to chill out. I'll watch football or I'll play computer games or I'll hang out with certain people. That resets me and I'm back to it. What I don't tend to do, because my parents were at their class, is dwell on things for too long.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. My mum was quite a big one. My mum and dad had a tougher life than I ever had. And so their legacy was to say, you need to be strong, not like we had to be strong, but you still have to be strong, even though we've made your life a bit easier already. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's different struggles, isn't it? I mean, I think it's the bane of being an older person. It's as you get older, you look back at generations before and think, they had it easy, they had it hard, and there's always this perspective, right? And I think there's a huge amount of context lacking, right? You're referring to, my parents had it tough. My parents had it tough. I think anybody our kind of age will probably refer to the parents as having it tough, but it's a different tough, right? The world throws a huge amount of curveballs in loads of different disguises, and we never quite know what they are. I mean, the challenges as a parent now are a completely different ballpark. The things that you can, and you've got to tread carefully about various things and other things, and it's a challenge. It's a real, I find that one of the most challenging kind of decision making things is to, how am I going to define something for my kids that I don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years?
Right.
I'm like, what's the best thing for them? And there's this thing about, the cotton wool scenario where, do you want to protect them and protect them and protect them, or do you want to put them out into the big wide world and go, look, you're going to handle it, because at some point in your life you've got to handle it. Whereas we go out and play outside, and parents would shout when it's time to come in and blah blah blah, and none of that exists anymore. Because it can't, because of the world that we live in, and I think that's always a massively challenging thing. So you've got your supportive parents. Your parents are kind of getting you to, almost look at the glass half full, right? You're always going, glass half full, look, things happen, just don't dwell on it too long. I think there's always that thing of, don't dwell on it at all. I think you should dwell on everything. Personally, I think that there is a time to, it's like when people say, when you lose someone, you said about losing your dad. I think there's a point there where you've got to dwell on it, because that's you've got to spend time looking at something and reflecting on it and looking back at it.
Break it down.
And go, look, what did I learn from that? And what are the positives, what are the negatives, and weigh them all up, and then move on, like you said. So you've gone, so we still didn't kind of get into many struggles apart from the way that you handle them. Were there any significant?
I think the struggles for me, the biggest struggles were trying to identify what I had to be good at what I was going to do next, but still try and remain myself.
Okay.
So I remember at one point sitting in a board meeting and down in Bournemouth, working for Fitness First, and some of the directors were there and the bosses, and we were sitting there, and they'll talk about their yachts, they'll talk about their fast cars, and I'm sitting there thinking, I want to go home and play PlayStation tonight. Because it's been a long week, I'm tired, I'm going to have my friend come over, and not because I was like a gamer or anything, I just wanted to do something that didn't involve work, if that makes sense, or fitness.
Yes.
So I remember sitting there thinking, that whole imposter syndrome. Because I sat there thinking, am I supposed to be wanting the stuff that they want? Because I don't. I don't really care about the massive house, the Porsche, the stuff that I did think I wanted as I was growing up, and I could afford it, but I didn't do that because I actually thought, no. And I think it's part of that was the struggle that I didn't want people to think I'd changed, if that makes sense. I think one of my biggest fears that people think, you've changed, or say you've changed. And I think that's almost been an anchor for me, because I still want to be amiable, friendly, approachable Richard for Woolworths, because I'm still that little kid that's quite happy to be on my own and chill out at home. You know what I mean? That kind of introvert person. So I'd hate for people to think you've changed so much, you've lost out of that kid. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm still that kid, but I'm a kid who can do other things. So my struggles, I slipped 2 discs 7, 8 years ago. Couldn't walk probably for like 2.5, 3 months. Humbling, struggle. But I thought I would have gone to a dark place at that time. Imagine my wife having to come home from school to take me to the toilet, help wipe my bum, empty my urine into jars. I'm laid down so I can hardly walk. I could have gone real dark in that period of time. But what I did is I found Netflix. I watched TV show. I started getting writing a lot more. I created plans. I created calendar girls in that time. I knew what I was going to do what. So while that time was there, my brain was still functioning. And I was like, actually, what's happening next? I think my biggest thing is when these struggles come, I hit them head on. I talk to people closest to me, and I try and look for the positive. And when there isn't any, I'll just make something, because I have to have something to focus on. Otherwise, I can spiral, as we all could.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting one. That obviously somebody who's hugely active, right, as well. You're massively active. Activity plays and movement plays a huge part in your life, right? Whether it's part of your work or whether it's part of just you and what you do, and then all of a sudden you can't move. And injuries are a big thing, right? Injuries for anybody in our industry, or anybody who functions in the way that we do, where movement is such a huge part, and you take that away for a moment. I'm nursing an injury at the moment that's stopping me doing a lot of things, and it'd be very easy just to go, oh, well, life's not fair and blah, blah, blah. And, like you say, you can go into a very dark place, and being in the position that you were there, that sounds like a really nasty place to be in that, you're bedridden and, you can't do a deal.
I had so many conversations with my parents who were abroad at the time, my friends, my family, my partner, and it's before we had Esme. And it's one of those ones I was like, is this it? Has my great run come to an end? Bear in mind, I just finished in the last season. I did a Biggest Loser. So then I was sitting there thinking, hold on, I'm doing all these great things on TV with Davina. Is this it now? Am I going to be disabled? Can I get back to where I needed to be? But through that whole healing process, and then suddenly with Becky becoming pregnant a year later, my needs and my direction changed, because I was coming back and I was like, and my whole thing was, when I come back, I need to be able to function. I didn't expect to function massively. I was like, I know I'm going to have back pain. I'll deal with it. But by us having Esme, that gave me a whole new lease of life. I was like, right, I'm going to train better, more effectively, more efficiently. I will take care of myself. I changed how I ate. I changed how I did a lot more preparation for everything. Everything changed because I was like, I need to stay healthy. And it's not about me now. It's about the family and my little one.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing what you'll do when you know it's not about you. Because if I didn't have Esme or didn't have Becky, I might have sat home and gone, I've had a good run, beer, drink. I might start drinking. Who knows? I might have gone to a dark place. But because I had to not provide, but because I had to be there for the family, I did all my rehab. I did so much. I did more than I needed to. I was out there with my not foam runners, balancing on things. I was using my TENS machine. I was using every magnesium bar I could find. I was stretching. I was rotating. I was to my friend who's a Czech certified trainer. I asked him for advice. I went to everyone to try and get myself to a point where I had the information, the resources, and the knowledge, and I applied it. If I hadn't had Esme and Becky, I might not have applied it so diligently because I was thinking this has to happen for the next phase to occur. And as a result of that, the next phase did occur. And that's where it's got me to now. So I have back pain every now and then, but I also am aware of what's causing it and what I'm not doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's interesting because, you've gone from what would typically drive a fitness endeavor. When you talk about people who go into transformations and they want to get change, they want to build muscle or whatever it might be. And it becomes a selfish endeavor, right? Because it has to be by default. You have to... there's a lack of consideration for the world around you as such. And then what you've said there is that in order for you to actually rehab properly and look after yourself and start to correct the way that you lived your life, and not to say that the way you were living your life before was wrong. It was just, the way you were living your life was something that you couldn't then continue to do unless you dealt with the issue that you had at hand, which was the back problem, right? And then all of a sudden you've switched this motivator to being this thing which was very self-driven into something that's actually driven by, which I think it is an interesting thing of certainly fatherhood, where, and motherhood, is that when that happens, all of a sudden you've now got this massive responsibility for being around, being able to do certain things, being able to function correctly, being able to, and obviously in those early years, function on very little sleep and all the other bits and pieces, which again, it takes us back to the start of the conversation, which was about adaptation, right? Yes. And you adapt to that environment because there's a lot of stuff thrown in there that nobody tells you about. It's not anticipated. People don't tell you all the bad bits. They just tell you all the good bits, and when people do tell you the bad bits, you don't listen. And it's this funny thing where all of a sudden now you're motivated by other people. And I think it's very hard to understand until you're actually in that position.
Yes.
And you understand that, yes, there is external motivation outside of me wanting to feel better, look better, perform better, whatever it might be. So tell me about becoming a dad. How was it for you? So this was all, was it a planned event? Was it something that you wanted? Was it, if you always wanted to be a dad, is it?
Oh, I've been wanting to be a dad from the age I had my first proper girlfriend at 18. If she'd fallen pregnant then, I was ready. I was that broody.
Cool.
The fact that I waited till I was 40, or was made to wait till I was 40, to say, because of circumstances, we were trying for like 5 years. And so when Esme came along, we were both 40 at the time, and you sort of go, okay. And what I will tell you now is, I've always been my father's child for the most part. And my dad, I don't think my dad ever raised his voice at us. He would give us that look, or he'd talk like, "You've let me down." But I don't think my dad ever raised his voice. Whereas my mum was like the Tasmanian devil. He was like, God damn.
A nice contrast.
My mum used to wave her slip around like it was cardio. I was like, but it's one of those ones where I was like, okay. But what happened is, literally as soon as Esme was born, I went from being, I would say, probably about 90% my father's child to being almost 60% my father's child. And my mum's fire was born in me, if that makes sense. Yeah. I went from, it's okay. Oh, they meant well. When people do anything, I'm like, well, I'll move on. To suddenly, no, you're not doing that. No. no, I'm not having that. If your son pushes my daughter again, I'm going to hurl him over a fence and you're going to follow. And that fire, and it made me, and to be fair, it probably bonded me with my mum more in the past 6 years than ever before, because I actually saw why my mum was so almost fiery, because she was protecting the family. She was like a lioness. You understand? And that was when I was like, hold on, I'm not tolerating this. And so I think what happened was, for being happy, joy, as I've been, I was like, happy, joy, but don't push your luck. And that is what I think I needed at that point in my life. As I turned 40, I needed that button to switch, because my brothers and sisters will say to you, I'm a soft touch, or you need to man up a bit more. So I'm always like jumping and laughing. I think that was life defining, to go, no, I'm here to protect my cub. And as a result of that, everything I did afterwards kind of paled. And I'll be honest, I lost my motivation to try and take on the world a lot, because my world wasn't out there anymore. My world was here. Yeah. And so when people are like, oh, you can be on TV anymore, Richard, I was like, I'm not bothered. I'm chasing you. I'm not applying for things. Oh, why don't you try for this? I'm not bothered. I'm okay. Why don't you get more clients? Yeah, kind of. I almost lost a bit of my fire, because I think I had to lose some of that fire to be the dad I needed to be and the partner I needed to be, if that makes sense. My wife's a head teacher. She's flying. She works long hours, so I couldn't expect her to do school drop off and pick up every day. And so I took the lead on that, and I have up to this point. And so sometimes it's tough and it's very frustrating, because opportunities come up and I've got to go, don't think I can do that. Or can you come out of school early? But you can't. What can we do? It's tough, but that fire is returning now, because everybody's walking, talking, she's fine.
Yeah.
And so now what I'm thinking, it feels like that, not last chance to live, but I feel like I'm getting myself back again now, where I'm like, okay, she's okay. The family's okay. It's now going to go about me now a bit more, because I want to provide for the future. And also my ego, my confidence, my me wants to excel again. And so I'm pushing forward again. And that's where I'm at right now. But fatherhood is amazing. And people don't tell you the truth. You've got the range. How you parent your youngest to how you're going to parent your eldest. Good luck, dude. I've got the one to navigate. You've got to spin all those plates simultaneously for those kids.
But it's like what you're saying. It's the transition of yourself, right, and your ability to be able to do those things. And obviously, in your circumstance, largely it's being self-employed, not self-employed, right? Is that if you're the self-employed one with the freedom of time and freedom of your own management of your own time, and kind of that's what you work for, right? You work for that. Yeah. To be able to be in a position where you can go, and you said about how you manage the stressful scenarios, is that you go, right, I'm going to switch off. You almost earn that privilege to be able to do that. Yeah. So ultimately, when it comes to the crunch, it's you have to step up and do that. And again, this is this dynamic that go back 20 years, it wasn't seen like that. It was seen like the man carries on doing his thing, and the woman stops doing things. And I think now it's this dynamic where people they reflectively look at what are your commitments, what's your time flexibility, what's your time flexibility, and people, they work at it. They figure out how are they going to dynamically work this, and this is the conversation I have with my wife. It's and fortunately for me, we're both in a position where we're in control of our own time. So I get to do and continue to do a lot of the stuff that I did, but there's other things that don't. And it's like that hierarchy that constantly changes. And I think, becoming a father, all of a sudden that hierarchy is completely different. And then it starts to adapt back to where it almost was, which is what you're talking about, is that, when they've got that control over their own circumstance, they go to school, they start to get a bit of responsibility, and part of that is easing off the gas a little bit so you can put your foot back on it.
Totally. So I think one of the biggest struggles we've had was the time management, because in Becky's job, she's the head teacher, and then she's being made being executive head. She's looking after other schools, and you go, okay, I get it. It wasn't a great school, it was a good school, but she's taken it from where it was, and very much she was headhunted, and she's taken it up there, and you go, right, so she can't take her foot on gas, and she's very, very particular about how she does things. All right, so it wasn't like we had a big talk. As we came along, it's like, this is happening. This is all we can do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and if I'd resisted anymore, we wouldn't have worked. because I felt like I had my wings clipped, and I still do feel like I have my wings clipped. I used to jump in the car, drive up to Manchester, have meetings, go to this, there, train clients here, there. Couldn't do that because I'm led by the school run. That's a drop off and pick up. It's a little bit less this year. There's a couple more pickups that are being done by other people, but for the most part, that's what I was doing. And so when I'm training PT clients, I'm like, I can only train clients a certain amount of time in the morning, get back home to do the school run, then have a window of a day and be done to pick her up, to then not want to be working in the evenings because she needs attention. I don't want to be sitting there going, hi, there's the TV. I'm working for another 3 hours. Yep. And so it's that balance. And yeah, things are changing now. And I've got that hunger back. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm enjoying this. But Esme doesn't know any different. She knows that daddy drops her off and picks her up for the most part. I take her to gymnastics, take her to swimming. I've got play dates. I look after another child on a Wednesday. So it's like daddy daycare. So people on the pickup are like, oh, it's you again. I'm like, yeah. But when Becky's there, they're like, oh, nice. And so we have to dovetail. But it also means on weekends, that's my time to fly. And it's quite often you'll see me posting my Instagram or Facebook that I'm going on a road trip to different gyms. Because that's my way of going, I'm going to get up on Saturday morning and go somewhere random and different, to be in a different space, just to break that routine. And I think we all need that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how that dynamic changes and how that's necessity to work for different things and function around different challenges is there. And obviously, kids are really, it just happens, right? It's not, there's obviously a bit of preparation there, but again, like we said, people don't tell you what's actually coming. And and then a lot of it obviously is adapted. You have to figure it out for yourself because everybody's different. It's like what you were saying about your brothers and sisters. There's an assumption that everything's going to be the same, but it isn't, because everybody's slightly different generation. Everybody's going off the back of the previous person before them, and there's all of that involved. So amazing. So the future. So what you said, everything's picking back up again. Obviously, you've done a ton of TV work, which again I'm not sure whether the listeners are aware of. You've done a ton of TV work. You did the Biggest Loser. You did that for a few seasons, didn't you?
Yeah, that's like three seasons. Yeah,
3 seasons. That doesn't exist anymore, Biggest Loser, right?
No. So I mean, this would be a whole podcast on its own because it doesn't exist anymore because obviously it's a licensed show from America, and so it costs so much money to make, and then obviously the license you pay to America, this is like TV.
Okay.
It doesn't make it viable. And also the audience is changing. But it's still one of my favorite pieces of work I've ever done, because a lot of people didn't get the show. A lot of people like to go and reference it in comparison to the American show, where they do things completely different. Yeah, they push the boundaries. It's almost fat shaming.
Yeah, it's come under a lot of fire, the American version, hasn't it? It's
as well it should. At times, it should. The UK show was not like that. What we did, imagine. So let me put it to you this way: as someone with a fitness background, imagine someone says to you, "Guess what? We're going to give you all the tools you need and a client base for 8 weeks in a place, and then they're going to send people home for another 8 to 16 weeks or another 8 weeks at home." Okay, where you program that. You can do whatever you want with them, but we want to see change happen. We have nutritionists who come to control the food. You do the training programs. You're there, and you live slightly off site, but you're 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay. Most PTs will go, "I'm going to get paid for this." Okay. There's a TV camera there. Are you going to fake anything? No. We've got to let it happen as it happens. So basically, what you're trying to tell me is, I get to do my job. It just happens to be on TV. Yes. We can take it, and that's what Biggest Loser was. What too many people fail to realize was, it's TV. So you've been in a session with clients you've trained who will do a workout, and maybe they've gone to failure. You know what failure looks like in a gym, right?
Yeah.
You know what failure looks like in a group fitness class. You know what failure looks like when people are mentally exhausted. You know what failure looks like when people are tired. Those are the parts that they'll show, because they don't want to show everyone doing a hip hop dance class with me, which was happening, or doing a yoga class or Pilates class.
Of course.
They want to show that the person's come off the bike and gone, "I want to go home, I feel sick, I'm tired." They'll show that. Then they'll show the comeback. But people hooked on so much onto that split second, or when the story dictated a certain thing, people jumped in and were like, "You guys are being, there's so many PTs said so much abuse, it's unreal." going, you'll give us a bad name, you'll make the interview look stupid. It's like, no, like you're pushing these people too far. Off camera, if you knew what these guys were feeling, on one of the series, on the first day, they had to run a 5K to get to the house. Now, a lot of people were like, when they told me that, I was like, is that even safe? They did full medicals on these people to make sure they could do that before they did that. Then they didn't tell me what was going to happen. On that opening scene, when these guys did that 5K cross country to get to the house, it took a while because some of them were like 24, 25, 28 stone. When they showed on TV, people were lambasting everyone. What they failed to realize is when those guys and all of them finished, the sense of success that night in that house, these guys were whooping it up. They were like, I've not moved for years. I did a 5K cross country like this. And it set them up to go, if I can do that, I can do anything. And that's why the show is successful in such a way, because we give people a sense of belief. What happened with the keyboard warriors were, they were like, you're just fat shaming. It's like, no, these people know what they're coming into. They can leave at any time. And we had safety at all times. So I still maintain we need something like that. Not that. We need something like that on TV because it gave so many millions of people, like 5.2 million at its highest. It gave so many people a chance to share someone else's successful journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what's missing. Rather than the Love Island, where they just who's going to sleep with who, or all these other shows like Big Brother. We actually said, this person's unhappy. With a bit of consistency, with you eating the correct amount, and people are like, oh, we're on low calories. These guys all put most of them all over 2,000 calories. Because you can't go from consuming 7,000 calories a day down to 1,200. Don't be silly. So we had it all calculated. They made their own food. So it wasn't like they were shipped in. They had to have effort. So they learned that behavior.
Yeah.
Again, some people get it, some people don't. I still stand by the fact it was one of my best experiences. I loved it. It was fun. And they need to do something again, maybe with us, on TV, which is going to show people about the journey.
Yeah, and I think the challenge with that is it's TV, right? Is that this is always, it's like the motor racing scenario. Is that I always, NASCAR probably being the best example of that, where cars just go around in circles, right? But people go and watch it, and not that many people will admit it, but most people go to watch it to watch the crashes. They want to see people fail, and they also want to see people succeed, which by definition is exactly what's happened with these shows. Is that even you reference Love Island. Love Island will just be one big edit of the low points and the high points, and it'll be and the bit in between, the kind of the boring stuff. It's a bit like you're looking at success, right? People want to see the success and they want to see the failures. All the hard stuff in the middle that's pretty boring to watch, they're just going to miss out. So unfortunately, you are at the bane of the cutting room, right? You are left with that, and obviously a lot of the flack and the feedback and everything that came from it, is because of that cutting room flaw. Is that you're left with?
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's one thing. When I signed up for it, I was like, okay, I was up against a whole wealth of top trainers, so I just again felt blessed and appreciated that I managed to get the opportunity. But what you said just then about the cutting room floor, that is a great analogy for life, because I think Instagram, social media, everything people do, people want to see the 8-week transformation, ripped to shred, or they want to see people who are overweight and struggling, or wherever the case would be. They don't care about the middle ground, and it's like that's where the magic actually happens. People are like, oh, you're posting decadent, amazing meals, or you're posting about kale, and they're like, which one are you doing? Yeah. And you'll get lambasted for posting for one, you get lambasted for posting about the other, because they'll go, it's not real. You go, yeah, but there's a range. Life is about the range. So again, people are like, oh, if I go to the gym, I don't want to do CrossFit. That's one end of the scale. I might as well just do Pilates or yoga. That's the other end of the scale. There's other things in between. Yeah. If you can be transient across that, again, the same as people who go, I don't do PT. I don't do small group training. I don't want to do group fitness. I'm like, fine. But when you're doing group fitness, what are you doing? You're still doing the same thing you're doing with one person, but with a group of people. And you're selling yourself to a group of people. You're also improving your ability to look for problems, whether it be individual or group problems, technique changes, safety in numbers. So someone who might not have come to you for PT might come to a class with their friend. And so a lot of people have this misconception about fitness, meaning you have to belong to a camp. No, I hate that. Just because you eat a certain way doesn't mean that has to be your profile name.
Yep.
John Vegan Saunders. What? I don't care. I really don't care. Samantha CrossFit McPherson. Nice. If that what you do doesn't have to define who you are. And so I think we've gone down that road where people feel so disconnected from so many things that they have to connect to a tribe to feel that they have something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's an identity thing, isn't it? You know, people want an identity. They want to belong to a club or whatever it might be. I think that's human nature, right? We're tribal by nature. We like to be part of things, part of groups, and I think, you know, you're talking. Well, you referenced it a few times. Is the fact that you have this introverted streak, and the same. I'm more than happy at home on my own. I'm more than happy in my own company. And I'm the sort of person that at a party I won't say a word for the first 2 hours. Because I just want to see the lay of the land. I want to know who I want to talk to rather than I'm going to talk to everybody. You know, so conventions and things are networking events where people are like, oh, it's a networking event. I'm like, yeah, not so much for me. You know, it's you know, until I'm comfortable in that situation, I won't. You know, I don't come out my shell and I don't do that sort of thing. So I think there is there's aspects of everything that's edited, right? You know, social media is an edit. You know, the depiction of the events that occurred in The Biggest Loser was an edit. You know, what we present to people is largely an edit. You know, you'll be glad to know that there won't be a single thing edited on this podcast. There'll be it will be seamless. It will be seamless. we won't be trimming anything out, but but again, it gives you a true picture. And I think there is so much context lacking. You know, you hear me talk about it a lot. I talk a lot about context in the fitness industry, where people remove context from a situation to make it look better or fancier or a little bit more glamorous as such. And you know, I do think that's a big part of what we do is we need to talk about the non-glamorous stuff, and we need to get people to do the non-glamorous stuff that ultimately results in the glamorous outcome, right? So it's a big part of it. So do you think TV's are you going to go back into TV? You're going to be doing some stuff in TV, do you think?
Who knows? I mean, honestly, it's ironic. Today I had a message from a client who's on TV, their agent asking if I'm available to do something shortly. And I was like, oh, so I'll respond to that later on. But again, if it happened, great. If it doesn't, I won't chase it. I'm not, it's not that I'm beneath it, but I'm busy enough and I'm doing okay enough without having to chase certain things. But if it's something that really rocks my world, I'll chase it down. Don't get me wrong. I'm open to everything. I'm very receptive, but I'm also fully aware that I can't do everything. I have a certain amount of time. So if I'm going to do anything now, it's more about quality than quantity. Before, I'm such a rubbish person. For the past 25 years, I'm such a yes person. And I've had to learn to say no for the past 5 years. Now, some people just don't like it, because they're not used to me saying no. But it's not a no because I'm not interested. It's a no because logistically, some things can't happen. You have to pick your battles. I'd love to be able to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to fly to Dubai and train someone out there for 2 weeks. Logistically, it sounds great. There's a lot of things that have to fall for that to happen. And if it wasn't financially worthwhile, then what's the point? And I think, again, going forward, when you talk about like human performance, I think people need to add more value to their time, if that makes sense. Just because I think people feel that they haven't got time to move better, or to eat better, to find better based on where you want to go. People want to know how to handle stress better. There's so many things, but when you put all that together, it looks like it's a whole day of just It's like no. If you start saying no to a few things, it clears up space. And in that space, don't sit on the sofa and do nothing. Use that space. You don't have to start your day at 4 a.m. in the morning just because someone on Instagram told you to. You don't have to get by on 6 hours sleep a night. Not if you need 8. And again, look at the ability to function. The less sleep you have, the less you can perform at your best. So why are you trying to compete someone else's game? You don't know why they have to do it get up at 4 a.m. Maybe they've got other reasons why they have to be up. And so they have to be up at that time doing it for something that suits them. But if it doesn't suit you, then don't follow them. Try and get to your ceiling within the parameters of what you can do. Same with coaching people. Too many people imprint their belief system only onto a client when what the client might actually need might be beyond your belief system.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one.
Yeah, the morning one's an interesting one because it's never, and again, removal of context, right? People talk about when they get up, but nobody talks about when they go to bed. And ultimately it all pretty much tallies up. People just shift it all and move it all. But, we talk a lot about circadian rhythm, and it's if pretty much everybody's fitting their day into pretty much the same bracket. You've got people who are, we get up at 4 a.m, but I go to bed at 8. And it's there's all of that lacking. So on the topic of performance, and just to kind of wrap things up, what are the things that what are the non-negotiable performance aspects to your life? What are the things morning routines, evening routines, afternoon routines? What are the things that you do every day that are about enhancing your performance or looking after your performance? And bear in mind that a lot of these are probably habitual things you've done for a long, long time. So they're not things maybe that you consciously go, I do that for performance. How does your day look?
You know what? I think if you're going to go break it down to that, I don't work out every day. So people who see my Instagram and say, no, sometimes that one session is split over 3 or 4 posts. But I move every day. Guaranteed. Yeah. And by the definition of move, people go, oh, yeah, human. No, I'm either training or I'm filming something or I'm walking. I'm moving in some way, shape, or form. Even doing chores for my mother. I'm moving. I'm consciously looking at my food. So I don't eat like an angel, not by a long shot. But I'm eating better than I did do. And as I'm getting older, I'm eating better and better and better all the time. So I'll make sure I'm getting enough protein every day, guaranteed. And I'm also trying to get as much food in as I can. I don't drink much coffee. I'm not a coffee fan. So this is is a peppermint tea. Boring as it sounds, it works. So I'm always hydration, enough protein. I try and get as much sleep as possible. Now I tend to go to bed quite late because I get that point where the family's gone to bed and it's quiet. And I almost don't want to lose that time when I have to be around everyone. So I end up sitting in bed sometimes reading or doing something else for an hour or so. So sometimes I go to bed at midnight. But I'm usually up in the morning for 6 a.m. for clients. So I usually average about 6 hours sleep. But on the weekends, when I can, I'll have at least one lay-in where I'm just sitting there doing nothing. So I'll try and make sure I have lay-in. So I think watching what I eat, moving on the time. I laugh every day. That's a non-negotiable. It sounds stupid, but I follow lots of stand-up comedians. I've always got things saved on Netflix, Prime. So literally, even if I'm on social media between clients, I'll go on Instagram and something's going to make me laugh out loud because I come alive when I'm laughing. My mum has the best laugh for anyone. When she bursts out laughing, she cries and it's infectious. And I grew up watching it. And so it's one of those things, when my mum goes, we all go. Everyone in the room can go. And I think so that boosts my mood. And there's certain people I'll communicate with on a daily basis who raise my mood, certain friends or clients who I know I can WhatsApp and message and have a bit of banter with, so I can go, yeah. And I think that's enables me to get things off my chest. So I tend not to do too much. So my routine performance is I eat, I sleep, I drink. Sounds very boring. I also indulge. I can almost guarantee in some way, shape, or form every day I'm going to have something some people would go is, that's naughty. I'm like, get over it. If I want it, I'm having it because I'm not tied into having to be in a certain shape for my job. As you may have known, over the years, I have a shape as a result of how I train, but you don't see much of it. You don't see much of it at all. I'm never ever really topless or anything. And so I don't have the pressure of having to maintain something. So I can indulge. And because of that, it takes the pressure off. But apart from that, I want to laugh every day, eat, drink, rest, and be around cool people. And also be left alone. Because my alone time is so important. That's why I don't mind driving to certain clients in London a few times a week, because that drive into London and out of London gives me quiet time in the car, just listen to podcasts and be alone. So, yeah, you can't put a price on that.
Awesome. Richard, thank you so much for your time. You know, as we know, time is very precious and time is time is very challenging at moments. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been great to kind of dig into your story and your background and everything and the way that you look at life. So thank you once again for that, and hopefully we'll cross paths again soon. It's the physical crossing of paths has kind of been on pause for a while. So we tend to go.
No doubt we will do this. But I'll say massive thank you for reaching out to do this. It's been a pleasure, and for me, it's nice to know that I knew we had similarities. The crossover, our crossovers are massive, and I think it's testament to the fact that we've trodden our path and we've run parallel in so many different ways. And the people we've worked with and things we've done, opportunities, we've kept dovetailing. So keep doing what you're doing. Love what you're doing with everything. Keep educating, keep motivating, and keep keeping the BS out of it. Because I like the fact that when I read your post, you're keeping it real. And, just keep doing it. And thank you.
Doing best. Thanks again, Richard. Speak to you soon.
Okay, dude.
Take care.